What's going on, everybody? Hopefully you are doing well. I am indeed. What am I calling myself now? Jono? What's going on? Hopefully you are doing well. Thanks for stopping by. And as always, we're going to do a little quick update here as to what's going on. I've had a pretty busy week, actually. As you might notice from the title, some stuff has happened. And let me just check the audio real quick. Okay, cool. That sounds all right. Let me know in the chat if we need to make any changes. I am watching both Facebook and YouTube now at the same time, so hopefully we'll see any comments that come in, and we'll be able to go with that. I am running this all through vMix and vMix Social, so it's all coordinated now, which is the goal. So I know that NAB is coming up, and I've tried really hard to get over there. I didn't try really hard, I guess, but I tried hard to get over there because I want to see what else is going on in the industry, right? And when I've gone to NAB in the past, I haven't been able to go and see anything else, really. You'd walk through the venue, the entire convention hall, but when you're working the event, typically you just get stuck at the booth that you're working at because there's a lot of people. If you're a popular brand, which I belong to a company that had a popular brand, you're usually pretty busy all the time. And the last year I did NAB, how long ago was that? Was it? I guess it was 2022 when I was at NAB last. But anyway, the last year I did it, I actually did a Bird Dog John talk show, and I interviewed a whole bunch of people. And I think that those interviews are still up on YouTube, on the Bird Dog site, on the Bird Dog page. But I interviewed people from Densitron. I interviewed Tom Sinclair. I interviewed a whole bunch of folks, some installers like AV installers, just to kind of get an idea as to who they are and get them out through the Bird Dog brand. So that was a lot of fun, and we were able to I spent the whole time interviewing people and setting up the booth. I was kind of the network guy, and then I set up the booth, set up my podcast stuff, did video podcast, and then I got COVID. So that was fun. Good morning, Sean. Hopefully you are doing well. Thanks for stopping by. Always good to see you again. Anyway, so at NAB, I was pretty much tied down to the booth until I got sick, and I spent many hours there before and after the show just because I was making sure that things were running correctly, right? So we didn't really get a chance to go around and see what was going on. Well, now that I don't belong to a camera manufacturer necessarily, I don't work for one. It would be great to go for 24 hours and walk around on the show floor and see some things. And in particular, go and visit booths that have some upcoming stuff that we already use. So it would be great to kind of go and see. And also there's, keynotes and that sort of thing. That would be great to spend some time. If you had 24 hours, you'd have to go pretty fast. If you had 48 hours, you could really kind of make the most of it and take your time. But now that I work for kind of like a broadcast level, production company almost, and our focus is on creating content, it'd be great to know, even beyond the video world, what else is out there specifically with the audio and with the streaming stuff, because we are going to have things that come up here in the future that we're going to need to know what our options are, and NAB is a great place to do that. Now, Global Office Hours has been doing, NAB chatter. They've been talking about what they're going to do. They're actually going to have a booth at NAB, and so you're going to be able to actually go up and meet those guys, but they're also going to be doing interviews. They're also going to be doing online panelists all that week, and so that will be a great resource if you're looking to find out what's happening there and you're not able to be there. But they have specifically said, we're trying really hard not to replace the need to be at NAB. We want to show you what you're missing. We want you to feel like, yeah, I'm really missing out. And so that's their goal. And I think they'll do just fine with that. It's quite a good show, and they have a broad range of things that they cover, including video, audio, broadcast, remote production. And then they get into the weeds with lower thirds and graphics and all sorts of stuff. So it's really quite neat to see them interact, but then they're going to go and do a a full-on production on the floor at NAB, and we will see how well that works, because typically the internet connections at NAB are not great, and so they're not doing that. I think they're doing live solo U, if I'm not mistaken, but they may have a third party or something else that's going to provide the internet. I know that Zoom was going to provide some sort of internet coverage for them, so we'll see what they say. But it's pretty fun to see all that coming around, and it makes me regret not making earlier plans to get over there. But hopefully next year I will, because I've told my team, hey, look, if we want to stay up on trends and whatever, that's really the show that we need to probably go check out, even if it's just for 24, 48 hours. It would be great to make that happen. So I'm unfortunately not going to get there this year, it doesn't look like. And that's a shame, because I'd love to run into the Bird Dog guys again too, all my former employers and everything, because it would be good to see them and catch up, see what's going on in the last few months since I haven't been around in the office. And yeah, we'll make that happen. But here we go. We will see what we can do. Now, some of the things I'm going to be paying attention during the week of NAB online, because obviously there's going to be a lot of material that's going to come out onto YouTube and other social platforms about what people are seeing over there. And so in particular, though, there are some things that I would like to I want to see what's going to happen in the Black Magic booth. I want to see what's happening over at the Canon booth. I would have liked to see what's going on with New Tech, or at least the VizRT group, I guess, the umbrella company. See what they're up to. I know that there are some industry guys like Jeremy, and I don't know if Jeremy Morris, who is with VizRT. I'd like to see what Audinate's doing, digital audio, trying to kind of get my brain around what they're up to, because we might need to start doing a lot of that, transporting our audio via, Ethernet essentially. And Dante is kind of the easy way to do that. Easy in the sense that you have to have the proper infrastructure to handle it, but once you do, it works really well. So I'd like to be there for those purposes, to see more of what's going on in the industry, but it's not going to happen this year. So pretty exciting. A lot of companies are alluding that they're going to be launching products at NAB, and there are rumors about the other companies that are not talking online. As a general rule, like with Bird Dog, we tried not to talk about what it was that we were going to do at NAB, and so that's usually a surprise day of, open doors. They try and launch things, and so that's a trend that they've done for many years. I don't know why they would deviate from that path if they have something to announce, and so it'll be fun to see what happens with Bird Dog, and we'll be looking forward to their announcements as well. So we will pay attention that week, and I will probably do my Thursday show kind of recapping all the stuff that's happened at NAB that I've noticed from here, from Michigan. So be sure to join us then. Okay, last Thursday, a week ago today, I was in my office actually playing X-Plane 11, and I got a text message from my wife, who was on the other side of the state in Grand Rapids at a conference, that her brother told her that there was a tornado in Ohio. My in-laws live in Ohio. They live in a little town called Lakeview, Ohio, and it said that there was a tornado that had kind of gone through Lakeview all the way down to Huntsville, and that their neighborhood was hit. So my wife was on the phone trying to figure out what all the details were and everything. And of course I had to quit my game and get on the horn and try and figure out what was happening. But also, without my wife here, now she's supposed to be going to a conference for the next day, and then this has happened to her folks' house and whatever. So that was quite shocking to hear that had happened. And we basically found out after the fact that the tornado pretty much went right by or right over their home. My mother-in-law and her daughter were in the house, and my father-in-law was at work, kind of across town. So They hunkered down in the bathroom, and basically all that's left standing is the home itself, which is unbelievable because it was an F3 when it went by their place, and that is somewhere in the neighborhood of 135 to 165 miles an hour. So they had multiple outbuildings on the property. They had a greenhouse, they had a detached garage, they had a tool shed that was like a chicken coop, and then they had another shed out back that they hadn't really restored, but it was a building. And all of them were gone, including many of the trees that were on the property. And so, if not all of them, but there are some trees kind of in the back. Anyway, lots of stuff has happened between now and then. The whole storm took 30 seconds at their house. The tornado itself went, southeast basically from there. But I can actually do one better here, and let's go to maps. All right, so here we go. So this is Lakeview, Ohio, and it's kind of a small like summer town, but the entire area is kind of like all surrounding this Indian Lake. And there's Orchard Island, and there's is this Fox Island? I forget which is which now. But several little islands out in the lake. So basically the tornado came from Wapakoneta, which is over here, and came across here, cut through Lakeview. All right, as we can kind of piece it together, cut through Lakeview, cut through Orchard Island and Russell's Point, and then continued on down to Huntsville, and then kind of dissipated somewhere down here. So it quite literally went over my in-laws' place, which is just there where that dot is, and destroyed much of their property. So we have been trying to figure out what to do about that, how to get involved, and where and when to show up. So I have basically a large generator that I use to power my home in power outages. And so we said, look, we can bring the generator down. We can at least get some power going or whatever. And trying to keep the house warm, because this week after the storm it's been very windy, and it's also gotten very cold. So yesterday, well, correction. What would yesterday be? So Tuesday night, after dinner, I got in my truck, loaded up my stuff, and I drove down to Lakeview, and it is impressive, to say the least. It is impressive what is no longer there, if I can put it that way. But yeah, I drove down, and you would never know that any sort of storm or anything had happened until you kind of get to the south side of that lake. And then as you get going down, then you can just kind of see, like, obviously some massive storm has gone through here and destroyed everything. So I did go down, took the generator, kind of got them started up with that. We plugged everything in that they needed in the house, got some space heaters going. Their gas meter, which was out by the road, basically was removed by the tornado. And so the gas company has terminated their service to the house, and they have to reinstall that service, which isn't terribly surprising, because once the meter's gone, they're not offering any service. But they've shut off that whole line to the house, and so, or to that line on the road. So they have to turn the line back on, make sure it's fixed, and then they have to allow the homes to reconnect to the line. So it's been insane. Well, anyways, so yeah, they used to have kind of a detached garage, and they used to have a greenhouse. You can see the slabs there where those items used to live. They have been removed from the property. There has been massive amounts of cleanup over the past week. So this is a week ago tonight this would have happened. And yeah, many, you can see all the trees are basically gone, and tons of removal of property has kind of happened. So it's been an unbelievable kind of story. The place across the road is a hardware store, and the roof was full of insulation for some reason, because it's a warehouse, but it's full of insulation. So the roof came off that building and littered their property with all sorts of insulation. So that's been a big cleanup project. That still, these were taken yesterday, these photos. This is a Marathon gas station, which no longer says Marathon, but it is open, unbelievably. Whoa, what happened here? Let me fix that real quick. The Marathon station is open, and they are running a generator so that his pumps can work, to the tune of like $600 a day. But if you look at this, it says "We are open." He has no other signage other than "We are open," and then the gas is $3.15, which is pretty incredible for a disaster area, if I say so myself. So good on them for trying to remain open. Across the road here is that hardware store, and there's also like a community market area. This is the back of their house. I'll explain that in a second. That's that community center, kind of over behind this pile of rubble. And there was a tree here in the front that is now gone. These are new poles that are going in. They were installing them yesterday. So they're stringing up the wires. They actually had them strung up yesterday. This shot here is the back of their home. And this used to be like a Three Seasons, like screened-in porch that, was a living space and is no more. So we had rolled up these carpets, which were saturated, and the boards are probably going to need to be replaced if they're going to keep it, and so on and so forth. But anyways, we spent some time yesterday cleaning that up, trying to get it good to go. And then what happens in a tornado, at least here in the U.S., is that when this happens, they tell you to pile all your stuff up next to the edge of the road, and then the National Guard comes along and basically loads it into trucks and hauls it away, which is wild. But they know that you got to clean up so that you can start rebuilding. So they just show up and they start hauling it all away, and that's how that kind of cleanup process is done. Oh, one more here. This is the front of their property, but the tornado kind of went, I think, either over this home or between it, because you can see kind of over this pile of dirt that's, just their center left. All those trees are stripped as well. Now, the lake is right there. Like, you could, if you walk down this road, you'll walk into the lake. And so the tornado kind of came between these two, the lake and their house, and, cleared out everything along the way. So I did go down yesterday, and we, like I said, we got the generator up and running so they could at least have some heat. I haven't heard from them this morning how things are going, but I came home last night, was home about 8 o'clock, and was able to, sleep in my own bed. But that's where I was for the past 24 hours. I was in Ohio, and just trying to get some sense of what's going on, what they're going to need here in the near future. They're waiting on insurance adjusters, all that fun stuff, to just to figure out what's next. So they can't really rebuild or start doing anything without the insurance, without whatever they know the insurance is going to allow them to do. But it's quite a disaster. They have several pets in the home, and they were in the home when the tornado went through. Thankfully, most all of them are accounted for, except for a stray cat that they were kind of befriending. So there are several pets that were there, and most of them are all accounted for. But man, it is a desolate place, Lakeview, Ohio, right now. Really, really wild stuff. So, more on that later as the cleanup continues. But it is quite a disaster. Oh yeah, this shot is there are these like billboard signs that this guy put up next to the highway, and they're really an eyesore, and they came down. So, well, that's one way to remove them. But anyways, they came down. Unfortunately, that will be an expensive repair to get that back up. Okay. Now, lastly here, as we're approaching the halfway mark here. I am planning on traveling. I travel out tomorrow night back to Nashville for another weekend of work. And we're planning on now installing a second Blackmagic Studio G2 6K camera. This is the that studio camera that we've been talking about in previous. Let me pull it up here. This one right here. So we've talked about this in previous shows, but right now we just have one, and color matching is still an issue. So I'm really interested in to see how well this works, because we have two of the same lenses, but we had two of the same lenses and two of the same Canon cameras. They were identical in every way, but they had different color matching. And I'm hoping that's not the case here, because, you know, these sensors will be the same, but we've had experiences in the past where you buy two identical cameras and the picture and the images look, you know, wrong. So, or just off. They're just slightly off. Now, the advantage here is we can install this over dual SDI and make those color corrections in the actual, you know, production booth. Instead of having to go down and matching them on the screens on the camera, we can connect them and then digitally match them left and right up in the booth, which I think will make them, first of all, it'll make matching the cameras a lot less difficult, but it will also make it more precise, because you're able to make finer adjustments without having to walk all the way down to the floor, make the changes, ask them, like, what does it look like? Does it look close? And they're saying, yeah, kind of. You know, that was our issue. So if it is as simple as this, then we will probably, you know, I will probably start advocating for more of the same cameras that we can centralize and control. It would be great to have 3 or 4 cameras in this studio, just because I like to have some versatility. Right now, we're quite limited with just 2 at this caliber, but we are at a place where we're going to start training cameramen, and I'm going to put them on camera 1. And so we've had a cameraman the past couple of weeks, but I haven't been there to kind of give any sort of guidance. And so it's hard to really tell what you want when you're not there, right? So I'm going to provide a little bit of training at the very least Sunday morning before we begin, but potentially on Saturday as well at some point if they're available, and be able to kind of walk through exactly how we, you know, adjust our cameras, when we change them, all that sort of good stuff. Now, the camera that he was on last week didn't have a tally light system, which these ones do. There's a tally light actually that's on the top, as you can see here, but there's also another one that is facing you on the little screen. The disadvantage is that these cameras are currently sitting on tripods on the floor, which means that they have to be positioned fairly high up. I'd really like to get to a place where we create some risers so that the cameraman and the camera can stand, you know, several feet above the audience, and we don't have to put it up quite as high. That would be ideal. So that's kind of next in terms of, like, if we want a project, that's what we would do. Could get some lumber and some carpet and some sound isolation tape and things like that, and build those so that people could stand, the cameraman could stand behind the camera and look in the monitor and not have to look up so high. But that's, again, another small incremental change that we'll maybe do the next time. Now, it's Palm Sunday coming up, so that's a big Sunday for a lot of churches. And then it is Easter Sunday the following week. So my plans as of right now are I'm flying down on Friday night, because that was the cheaper flight. Flying down on Friday night, I'll be there Saturday and Sunday, and then I'll fly home on Monday morning. On Tuesday morning, we're basically going to drive down to Nashville. So we will leave here on Tuesday and land in Kentucky somewhere, drive down to Kentucky, and then just south of Cincinnati, I think. I should know that. South of Cincinnati, and then we will go from there to Nashville the next day. So we'll take a couple of days to get down there, and then on Sunday after Easter, we will be just packing up and leaving after service and go back to Kentucky, same hotel, and then come back all the way home after that, and potentially stopping in Ohio because my generator's down there, and hopefully they'll have power by then. That is a week away. So hopefully they'll have power again, service to the home, and that they'll be able to heat their home, at least with the, they'll be able to heat their home with the electrical heaters that they have currently running to heat the house. So I should really find out how that went last night, and if the house was warm this morning. So we might stop in Lakeview on the way home from Nashville, but I don't know yet. Even if it's just to pick up a generator, but I'm not quite sure about that. And then home again then on Monday, and then here Tuesday. Now, once I'm back, I actually won't go back to Nashville for 3 weeks. Basically because we have two services. The pastoral team is going to Colorado for 2 weeks, and so we're gonna make the actual Sunday services, but we're gonna produce them ahead of time and then schedule them for launch on Sunday morning. So there won't be anybody at the soundstage those 2 weeks, and we will be just doing that content online. So there's a lot that's got to happen here between now and then, and mixing in a tornado disaster effort here is also an extra bonus that we weren't really planning on. Nobody was planning on it, but we're making it all work. So that is kind of how the next few weeks pan out, which means that next week I won't be online doing any of this sort of update stuff. We will be off next week and then back the following. It is my kids' spring break coming up next week too, which means that today is excuse me, their last day at school, and then they don't go back until following Tuesday, a week Tuesday. So they'll be home for almost 10 days. So that's why we're taking the trip down to Nashville. So that's kind of the update there. This we are installing a second one of these. It is this third one here, the 6K Blackmagic Studio Camera 6K Pro. And I will say that I'm actually quite happy with the image quality of this camera. I think it looks accurate to what I would expect. And I do like the fact that they have an option for a natural EF mount, which means that you don't have to crop the image at all, to get the proper lens on there. Now, it is more expensive than the other ones, but once you start adding up the actual speed adapter, and you start adding up all the extra little things that you need to add your EF lenses onto the camera, it kind of makes sense just to get one that has a native EF mount, because Canon EF lenses are one of the most common in the world, in the camera world, at least the photography world. And if you have a big lens like we do, which is like a 70 to 300 millimeter, we've got two of them because our cameras are at the back of the studio. We've got two of these really big long lenses that have really low f-stops, so they're not inexpensive either. They're several $1000s. But since you've already invested in the lenses, which is half the battle, you might as well have the camera body that receives it natively. And so the EF mount, which is on that third camera there, the Studio 6K, has a really nice image. It looks really good. And I've been working with the footage post-production, doing social media stuff and kind of getting it ready for YouTube consumption. And it's been really nice. Like, I think it looks really well. I'm really excited to see how well the color matching works. I hope that it is as simple as they claim it to be. I need to research it a little bit more today to know exactly how to go in and color match, or perhaps there is a way to copy and paste those options. If you know of a way to do that, please say so in the comments, because I would greatly appreciate finding that out. But I'd really like to know what's the fastest and most efficient way to color match these cameras, because if it is simple, and it would make sense that there's a color matching option because they all come back to the same software, right? They come back to the ATEM, and then the ATEM is able to manipulate the color wheels on board those cameras. And so it makes a lot of intuitive sense to have an ecosystem, and that all that ecosystem works together. I love the fact that it has a built-in tally system. I love the fact that it has it has onboard audio, which we're not really using, but it has a great big 7-inch screen on the back of it, which 7 inches, I understand, is not your monitor sizes, but for on board on a camera, it is really convenient. It's really handy to have. You know exactly where your shots are. Like when we had those Canon DSLRs, there was no way to put a grid on the actual viewfinder, and so you kind of had to guess. You kind of had to. Now we can be very consistent. We can do the 3x3 grid on the actual viewfinder, and then we can just set it and forget it. We don't have to think about it. The one thing I don't like too much is the autofocus option. You can autofocus these cameras from the software, but it's kind of like a small black button that you have to know where it is and what it is in order to make it do that. And I think I would prefer to have a API command that I could program into my companion module so that I could just call that function right away. And as far as I can tell, there isn't a way to do that. There is no API call command. I could be wrong, but inside the actual Blackmagic software, we can look it up. I haven't been able to find ATM Web enables a REST API for the Blackmagic ATM switchers. API endpoints. Yeah, I don't know where I haven't seen it yet. If that is possible, I do know that inside Companion, there doesn't appear to be a way to do that. We can show this. So if we're to add a connection and we just say ATEM, we say add, and then I go to buttons and not presets, but I want to create a button and go here, and then oh, it's not gonna let me do it because oh, there we go, ATEM. Here I don't see anything that says to autofocus the camera. Could it be a macro? Yeah, I'm not too sure if that's an option or not, but I wish it was, because that would be very handy to have, right? I don't see it. And I've used a lot of these buttons before for other things, so I haven't seen that yet. And I don't set inputs from variables, presets, Blackmagic ATEM, preview, program transitions, keys on air, DSKs, macros. Can I program a macro to do it? Let me look and see if my other machine is online here. Oh, for crying out loud. Where is it? This is what I wanted. If the stream machine or the studio is on, stream computer is on. Oh wait, that's Rochester's. That's not the one I want. MacBook is on. These are the two that I need. Okay, well, so I can't even look it up. So can I program? So that now the question is Blackmagic ATEM software macro programming. Can I program a macro to do it? How to set up and use? Okay, using macros. Let's find out. Setting macros inside the ATEM software. Recording a macro. Oh, maybe we can use a macro to do it. Then I can just set macro 1. Maybe. It's a shame that nobody knows. Whoa. My Facebook Live has not caught up to the show yet. It still says that I'm in a countdown. Let's refresh this page. Okay, there we go. So there may be an option. Add a macro. Okay. All right, well, maybe that's the way to do it. If it will allow me to save it as a macro, and then I can save the macro on BitFocus and just call the macro. So if I put this here, macro 1, macro, run, just run is all I would need. Okay. Deal. then I'll see if that works. I'll let you guys know if it does. That'd be really handy to have cameras 1 and 2 autofocus buttons, right? So you just click the autofocus and it focuses that camera. They don't tend to wander off too much, but if we have a cameraman and he's moving between subjects, I'd really like the autofocus option to be available so that when we get the camera on the subject, then we call, we autofocus it when we get to that position, person's there, autofocus, go to that camera. That would be ideal. Still no word though. Like, I wish it would confirm that yes, you can use macros. A10 Mini Pro macro library. Hey guys, was technically good, which made me think, have found a place to download ready-made macros, such as fade sound down, grab image, yada yada yada. Blackmagic folks, if the Blackmagic folks are listening, creating a bunch of common macros would be so much value to A10 Mini Pro. Usual customers are people who are into video production. I'm not. I'm a speaker, and for me, it's taking the process. Okay, good. Well, that's fine. Okay, well, it would be good to give that a try. It's a shame that my other computers are not. A10 Pro. It's a shame that my other computers are not online, because if they were, I could sort that out right now. But alas, they are not. Cool. Right. Alrighty. Well, we are moving right along here, and it's approaching that 12 o'clock hour. We got about 20 minutes, and then that will be the end of it. So hopefully things are going well. I need to check on, let's take a look. This is the first time I've ever flown out on Friday night to go down there, which is just an extra night, but it was half the price again. Like, it's so weird. Delta keeps like changing their flight prices significantly, like twice as much. And I can check in. Tomorrow's flight is at 8:40 p.m. And yeah, 8:40, which means that I need to be at the airport by, like, I don't know, probably 7 o'clock, because they'll start boarding at, what, 8 o'clock? So, well, maybe 6:30, but yeah, I'm finding that Delta flights are all really confusing in terms of prices. The next time I fly down will be like closer to the end of April, and even then I'm watching those flight prices, and they keep jumping between $400 or $500 and $800 or $900, which is weird. It's strange to kind of see that price range, but not much you can do about that. You just have to kind of wait. That flight is currently $645. With the exception that I guess I have this one coming back on Sunday, which would be amazing if I could arrange that. But if I come back on Monday, which is what I normally do, on the 22nd, so the 20th to 22nd, then the price is like $358. $298. Like, come on, man. Show up on Saturday morning. Yeah. So $300. I mean, you can't even beat that. Even for $400, it can be main cabin too. Yeah. Anyway, that's what it normally is, $300 or $400. And right now, the flight to come home on Sunday is like $700. So it's like $400 or $700. Which one do you take, right? Hard to say. Hang on. Go back here to this flight. Anyway, so yeah, I've got to try and like get a bunch of my work done because I was in Ohio yesterday, so I wasn't working. So I'm trying to catch up on services and social media stuff. Trying to get like newsletters and stuff, everything done that I was supposed to have pretty much done yesterday. I've got to get those items done before I leave tomorrow, and then I'll be working all day Saturday getting cameras and stuff situated. Then Sunday's regular work day, and then Monday I'll be flying home, and then Tuesday I leave again, which means that on Monday I've got to get that next week's service pretty much done because I'm not going to have the luxury of having a computer next week. So I need to basically have most of it finished on Monday. Yeah, that'll be a tricky one. And then when I go down to Nashville, then at some point I'm going to need to also try and finalize the next week's service so I can record it as soon as I get home. So it kind of got pushed back a fair bit. And I guess it's almost done now. Let me pull this up and see where I'm at. But so that would be April 7th. So yeah, this service is almost done. It's missing a few things, but it's almost ready to be published. I guess I need a song. How many? I need 2 songs, and then that one's ready to go. So, yeah, we're getting down to it. It's strange when you like take time off and you go on vacation or you go down, you like drive all week. Everything still has to be done. So it's going to be a tight couple of weeks. And then when I get back, I'm going to be generating 2 services for live recording. So that's kind of what's on my plate this week. Don't forget that NAB is coming up, and that is like the second week of April, right? Let's go here. NAB 2024. That is at the Las Vegas Convention Center. Not NAB Personal Banking. Get out of here. NAB 2024. Scheduled for the 13th to the 17th, which is pretty cool. And we will be paying attention that week when they are live for that show, because I think that they're planning on announcing some stuff, and we want to be paying attention, kind of see how that all goes down. So we'll plan on doing that. We'll plan on doing a show that week. I will be off next week, so you get a break, but I'll plan to come back the following after we're done traveling and all that sort of good stuff. So that'll be a pre-NAB show as well. Looking forward to whatever is going to happen there. And I'll give you an update on how things went with the second camera with the Black Magic. I'll let you know how that color matching stuff went as well. So, all right, I'm going to wrap it up. Thanks so much for hanging out. As always, really appreciate you. And we will see you guys in 2 weeks' time right here on John O'Canute. Hopefully you are doing well. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And we will see you the next time around. Take it easy, everybody.